If you want to find the right girlfriend or wife, you have to leave your comfort zone. If you only go to the same job, maybe you work remotely, you go to the same gym a couple of times a week, where on earth are you supposed to meet that person? Now, leaving your comfort zone is only a temporary act because remember what Brad Yates says. We leave our comfort zone to expand our comfort zone. A lot of men think that this whole dating process and finding the right one is so terrifying because they have to face so much rejection. They're not getting matches on dating apps. Ah, it's a scary and uncomfortable process. Only temporarily so, because once you venture out into the realm of what was once part of your zone of challenge or even zone of overwhelm then becomes part of your comfort zone. You venture out into new territory. You conquer the territory. And then it becomes part of your comfort zone. You've already done this in your career or your business, maybe in your health. Maybe the first time you started going to a gym, you didn't feel so comfortable about it either. But then you went there over and over again. You became competent in that domain, and now it's part of your comfort zone. The exact same thing is true when it comes to approaching women in person during the day or at night. Now you might say, no, but I don't even drink alcohol. Great, you don't have to drink alcohol to go to bars. But going to bars is a fantastic place to meet women. You don't have to. You can just use online dating or Instagram cold messages. But if you don't learn the skill set of approaching women in person during the day in everyday situations or at night, you will miss out on a tremendous amount of character growth because most men BS themselves. Most men say, oh, I could go talk to her if I really wanted to. But they can't, because if you could, you would. If you had already successfully overcome your approach anxiety, if you had already developed the skill set of starting a conversation, not running out of things to say, building a man to woman connection, if you had already built that skill set, you would already be doing it or you would already be in a happy relationship. The fact that you're not doing it means you must have mindset problems or you haven't overcome your approach anxiety. You haven't ventured out there. And the reason in-person approaches matter so much is not necessarily because your future wife, your girlfriend, is gonna come from an in-person approach. She may very well come from a dating app or from an Instagram cold message. But you know how people say, I need to work on myself first before I can get out there and date and find the right woman? Nonsense. Do an approach. Get out there, face your fears, and you will work on yourself. What better way is there to work on yourself than to leave your comfort zone, to expand your comfort zone? It is one of the most rewarding things. How on earth are you going to be able to teach your son anything about dating in the future? Maybe he's already born, maybe you have children, he's going to grow up, so at some point it's going to become a relevant subject for him. Maybe your unborn son, your future son. How on earth are you going to be able to teach him anything about dating if the only source of data you have is hearsay because you don't have actual experience? Because as I said, most men bullshit themselves. They think they know, but they don't because they haven't gotten the experience. And if you don't have the actual experience, if you haven't faced the dragon to get the gold, how are you supposed to be able to bestow lessons upon your fellow men? In the hero's journey, the very last act, after having gone through this entire ordeal and growing and meeting the mentor, you come back to your tribe. You come back to your people to bestow boons upon your fellow men. You come back with lessons or an actual thing, the treasure, by going out there and venturing into your zone of challenge, not overwhelm, which is something we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes. You become somebody else. At the core, you'll stay the same person, but you become somebody who's so much more resilient. You become a man of high levels of integrity. One of the most important characteristics people look for is integrity. High quality women want a man with integrity, congruence between his thoughts, words, and actions. And none of us is perfect, but we should strive to have as high a degree of integrity, congruence between our thoughts, words, and actions as possible. And doing the hard thing that nobody else is willing to do makes you a man worth relying on. That girlfriend, life partner, or wife of yours, she needs to know that if shit hits the fan, if life throws challenges at you, that you will find a way. I will find a way, or I'll make a way. Your best friends, your business partners, they want somebody who has the ability to venture out into the mountains and create certainty and create structures and expand his zone of comfort. Now, what does that mean in practical terms? In practical terms, it means that you first, if you're too scared of approaching a woman and saying, excuse me 2 seconds, you're really cute, I had to come and say hi, which is what 80-90% of men are, by the way. I would say over 90%. It was the same for me in the beginning. Then you can just walk around during the day or at bars and simply introduce yourself. Say, hey, hello. Or literally just walk by people and make eye contact. Great. Then you say hello. Great. What do you do then? Then you can ask for directions. Then you can ask for directions, have a conversation, and walk away. Then you can ask for directions, have a conversation, and just exchange a friendly Instagram. Then you can have a conversation, build intent, convey a man to create a man-to-woman connection, convey intent rather, and then don't exchange Instagram or numbers. And then maybe you do. And then maybe at some point, after a couple of weeks of you doing this, maybe a month, you're at a point where you can start a conversation with, you're really cute, we should get married. It's obviously a joke. It's a bit of a playful one, more of a nightclub bar opener. And again, you don't have to go to nightclubs at all, because 9 out of 10 women you're going to meet in nightclubs are not the ones you want to be in a long-term relationship with, for obvious reasons. But bars are a completely different environment. In bars, you can really meet high-quality people who don't drink that much alcohol. So what I would encourage you to do is you start the conversation. The aim has to be to start the conversation with intent. So you say, excuse me 2 seconds, you're really cute, I had to come and say hi. Excuse me, I really like your outfit, but what's going on with those shoes? A direct conversation opener starts with a compliment. And that's incredibly scary and far outside of your comfort zone, probably at this point. I completely understand it. But that's what makes it worth it. It being difficult is what makes it worth it. Most men out there are fucking cucks. They think they can do it, but they don't. That's why they end up in mediocre relationships with people that are not respected by them and who they don't respect either. Who are not desired. They never feel desired. They barely ever feel tolerated. They're in a relationship with somebody who they don't feel physically attracted to. They're in a relationship with somebody where their values and their personalities are not aligned because they didn't do the hard thing. They saw it, they were faced with the possibility of venturing out into the unknown, and they rejected it. They had the call to action. They were the hero. Somebody presented them with a possibility and they refused. So they were deemed to suffer for the rest of their fucking lives. There is a call to action. Maybe this video is the call to action for you. Frodo, when Gandalf came, Gandalf was Frodo's call to action. Hagrid was Harry's call to action. Every hero is faced with a call to action at some point in time. And life is going to give you more than one. If you've missed a couple in the past, no worries. But at some point, there won't be any left. God, the universe, will realize, okay, this motherfucker wants to stay in his village. He wants to have an average relationship. So let him. No problem. Let a high quality relationship be an outstanding outcome worth achieving by somebody who's willing to do the difficult thing. But again, it is not that difficult if you do it progressively. If you just go step by step, you don't have to start with, excuse me 2 seconds, you're really cute. You go step by step. Progressive desensitization. You can learn anything if it's step by step. The business you're currently running, the job you currently have, if I were to try to do your job, I would fail miserably because there's things that I know that I don't know. There's certain conscious incompetencies that I have, but there's also things that I don't know that I don't know. That's why I would fail. But I know for a fact that I have developed the meta skill set of learning, and you've done that too. You have the skill set of learning, so you can learn this as well. So remember, You don't have to go into your zone of overwhelm where you do something that's so difficult. For example, there's three women in a bar, you walk up to them and you give one a compliment. That may be outside of your comfort zone, but not even just outside of your comfort zone. It's not even in the zone of challenge or growth, which is if we push ourselves and it's a little bit difficult, it's actually overwhelming. And remember, subjectivity equals reality. If it is subjectively too much for you at this point in time, that is perfectly okay. That doesn't mean you're weak. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It simply means you haven't progressively desensitized yourself against the seemingly threatening stimuli or subjectively very real, really stimulating, threatening stimuli. So you need to go step by step. It is so absolutely worth it. But you will not be able to do that if you don't block time in your Google Calendar to venture out. If you go to the same places over and over again, same office, same remote job, same gym, same yoga studio, you will not meet people because then you rely upon what? The miserable results you get on online dating because you haven't figured that out yet? Yes, of course, you can learn that. As I said, 60 to 70% of my clients find somebody through online dating. But the ones who end up in really, really high quality relationships, they also approach. They also do that because you grow. Because it is what you resist the most. What you resist the most, that's where the precious lies. The magic you desire is on the other side of the work that you're avoiding. It is so true that you can get an unbelievable high, a sense of self you've never felt before by simply going to places, literally speaking, into the mountains, and metaphorically speaking, by doing things you've never done before. Because yes, obviously this is about the outcome. You want to find the right girlfriend or wife. So does it really matter where the date comes from? No, I alluded to that earlier. But what matters is that you get the outcome. One, you get a high quality relationship with somebody who has the same values as you, same outlook on life, somebody you're really physically attracted to. But on the other hand, one of the benefits from doing this is your emotional reality completely changes. You are a people pleaser. You are a nice guy, which is amazing. You're supposed to be nice and you're supposed to be kind. But this people pleaser attitude robs you of a sense of masculinity in your communication that is required to create a tremendous amount of attraction. You don't even know what it's like to be truly confident on a date. Maybe your levels of confidence on a date with a lady are currently a 6 out of 10, maybe a 5 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10. You've never seen what 10 out of 10 confidence even looks like. You can't even fully fathom it. But once you see it, somebody shows it to you, maybe you push yourself step by step. You allow confidence by becoming competent, by taking control of your mental and emotional state, by changing your beliefs, by being around the right people who exude those levels of confidence. You will experience levels of self expression you've never felt before. And that is almost more valuable than the relationship itself. Yes, Fernanda adds a tremendous amount of happiness to my life every single day. That is an external source of happiness, which is absolutely amazing, which we all need. If you want to be happy in life, you have to have an intimate relationship. Tony Robbins says, it doesn't matter how well you're doing it in business, how much you're crushing it in your career. If you're not happy in your intimate relationship, you are not happy. That is how we are biologically designed. You can survive without an intimate relationship. That's fine. You can be single for a while, no problem, get experience. But if you want to be truly fulfilled, you have to have a high quality relationship. Perfect doesn't exist. But trust me, there's a big difference between 9 out of 10 compatibility on the most important factors that matter to you and a 5 out of 10 compatibility. Most men, because they haven't ventured out, because they haven't actively, aggressively left their comfort zone for periods of time, end up in relationships with women with whom they have a 5 out of 10 level compatibility. Nothing's all right. It's kind of nice. Intimacy, not that great, but it's all right. It's okay. That's death. Do you want to live in, that's all right? Most men live lives of quiet desperation, Henry David Thoreau says. You might argue that the desperation isn't so quiet anymore, as Joe Rogan says, but the desperation has taken place, whether you believe it or not. Look around. How many men do you actually know that are in fulfilling relationships? Not just a relationship, but in really, truly fulfilling relationships where they love each other, where they respect each other. The woman really respects them. She looks up to him. He treats her like a queen. They have intimacy. It's amazing. Their values are aligned. Their personalities click. It's not perfect, but it's pretty fucking awesome. How many of those do you actually know? Close to zero. It is extremely rare because this requires a skill set that you can learn. It's what we teach in my coaching program. Apply for a free initial consultation call if you want me to help you with that personally. But whether you do it with me, with somebody, obviously do it with us, with the best in the world, 100%. But the most important thing is that you do it. Whether you do it by yourself, whether you do it with somebody else, it is important that you do it. You need to commit yourself to leaving your comfort zone on a weekly basis. And for some of you, that might even be dating apps. Maybe you struggle with getting matches on Tinder. Well, get amazing photos taken, get feedback on how to build a high quality profile. Venture out. Maybe leaving your comfort zone might actually be admitting, maybe I should get a mentor in this area. Maybe I should consult somebody who's walked this path before. Maybe leaving your comfort zone means putting your ego aside and acknowledging that you suck. Because if you didn't temporarily, right now, suck in this area, you would have already achieved the result. And it's perfectly fine. We all suck at something. We all suck at something. It's no problem. It's perfectly okay to get help in whatever area. Because let me tell you something, you are truly special. I believe we as human beings are special when it comes to the gifts we share or we can share with society, but we're not special when it comes to our problems. The problems you have, somebody else has solved before. Somebody else has solved the problems you're currently facing. In fitness, that's true. In business, that's true. And in dating and relationship, that's true. There's way more processes, systems, and patterns underlying all social interactions that you're not even currently aware of. And in all areas in life, if you want to be successful, it comes down to one, recognizing patterns, utilizing patterns, and then creating your own patterns. If you're blind to the patterns, then your results will vary. Or sometimes I happen to have more dates, sometimes less. I don't know, women lose interest in me after a couple of dates. It is just patterns. Once you dedicate yourself to studying this for a couple of months, X amount, 2 months, 9 months, 12 months, 7 months, you can truly find a high quality relationship. It is absolutely possible, but you have to make a decision. It starts with asking yourself what type of a man you are. The strongest need we have, Tony Robbins says, in the human psychology is the desire to stay consistent with who we believe we are, with how we define ourselves. Success in anything comes down to identity level shifts. Who are you as a person? Are you the type of man who tolerates shitty relationships? Who tolerates subpar results in one of the most important areas in life? Are you somebody who starts something and then gives up? Are you somebody who faces a challenge and then gives up? Or are you somebody who looks at things that can seem incredibly difficult, that maybe even be painful, and says, I will do it. I'll find the easiest way. I'll find the strategies that are going to make it as easy as possible so I can go from the warrior archetype to the wizard archetype, who can get the exact same results as the warrior with a tenth of the effort. But somebody who makes the decision to do whatever it takes. There is a wall I will break through. Remember this image of two guys digging for gold? One guy's really close, he's about to give up, and the other guy's a couple of steps behind him, but he's coming. You are this close to the gold. You're this close. Just define yourself, or rather remember that that's who you truly are, because it is who you truly are at your core. At your core, you are somebody who sees things through till the end. Now you might say, David, but in the past I've given up. Yes, that was in the past. And probably there was a part in you that wasn't self-sabotaging, because remember, self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love. It was a part of you that loved you, that was trying to keep you safe. Maybe you lacked strategies. And remember, the past only defines you if you let it. The only thoughts that have power over you are the ones you choose to believe. If you use a rear view mirror to guide your life, you're going to crash. Or as Gary Vee says, looking back fucks with your neck. Look forward. Just because in the past you started things and gave up, just because in the past this was an area that you hadn't been able to figure out, doesn't mean you can't do so in the future. There, in your business, in your career, you are now at a point where 10 years ago, this would have been a dream. Or at the very least, a high goal of yours to be where you're at in your career your business, maybe your fitness, maybe some hobby, martial arts, whatever it is. You have achieved things in certain areas in your life that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 years ago were a very ambitious goal. Now you're living it, and now you're almost taking it for granted. But what you're forgetting is you had to venture out of your comfort zone. You had to apply to positions on LinkedIn. You had to start that business. You had to join a jiu-jitsu competition. You had to do rock climbing competitions, fall on your ass, hurt yourself, get rejected, get back up, get out there. Why did you do it? Because at your core, you already knew that you are somebody who takes action and who makes things happen. That belief is what's ultimately going to guide you, because what's going to shape you long term is the story you tell yourself about yourself, the beliefs you have about yourself, the beliefs you have about life, the beliefs you have about women. Oh, there's no good women left. Nonsense. Online dating doesn't work. Nonsense. I don't have time. Nonsense. Excuses. Time is emotion. You have 112 waking hours available to yourself every single week. Everybody has time. 1 date a week takes 3 hours. Couple hours approaches. This is a 5 to 7 hour a week activity. 5 to 8, maybe a little bit more if you want to put in more. Everybody has 5 to 10 hours if it's important enough to them. If you're not dedicating the time, it's because you don't believe it's truly possible for you. If you thought it was actually possible for you, if you had a plan, if you remembered who you truly are, a man who starts things and finishes things, somebody who makes things happen, you would make the time. Nobody has time, you make it. It is absolutely 100% inconvenient for me to go to the gym and work out, because there's clients that need taken care of. There's videos that need to be filmed. Fernanda and I have to make love. Sorry about that. There's important things that need to be done. It's absolutely inconvenient, but I know what happens when I don't go. And this is where motivation becomes easy, because you can turn fear on itself. You can turn pain on itself. There was a video that I saw on Instagram the other day where they interviewed a guy in the gym and they asked him, what's your motivation for coming to the gym? And he said, pain. Some of you go to the gym or work out because you know how pathetically, emotionally you're going to feel, how weak you're going to feel if you don't go for a couple of days or maybe even a week. I know that doing 500 push-ups, which is what I did 2 days ago, was painful. But it would have been a lot more painful to not feel strong, to not have the testosterone high in my brain, to not have the dopamine high in my brain, to not feel good about myself because I did the hard thing. That would be a lot more painful. So once you understand that, yes, leaving your comfort zone, learning to approach, learning online dating, working on your communication, getting rejected a couple of times, getting back out there, getting rejected a couple of times, getting back out there is going to be painful, but it's going to be a lot more painful to not do it, because the alternative is a life of suffering. The alternative is a wife who lies next to you in bed and she turns away from you because she doesn't like you. Somebody who doesn't greet you with a hug and a big smile on her face, but somebody says, could you please do the dishes? You're here. Feeling miserable. Terrible intimacy. Unhappy children who are going to see their parents suffer. Yes, because both of you are going to suffer if you don't find somebody who's right for you, and if you don't create and sustain attraction. In other words, you show up in a loving, kind, yet masculine way. That is a lot more painful. So once you can turn pain on itself, it becomes easy to do what's right. It becomes so easy to get the rejection, because what's the alternative? What is it? Stay alone? Stay single? Keep jerking yourself to sleep? Keep feeding that porn addiction? And then you can recognize that it's a really genuine, slippery slope that you're on. Because things don't stay the same. Things get better or they get worse. How does it impact your performance at work? Yeah, maybe temporarily it's better for you to just not be dating. But to be honest, how does it impact your your performance at work if you don't feel loved by your wife? You know that when you're dating and your relationship life is going good, you're way more motivated at work. You treat your coworkers better. You have an overall renewed sense of childlike, kindred energy. That childlike wonder, that spirit, that energy is inside of you. If you don't make sure you're happy, you won't be able to show up as the best version of yourself, and the people around you are going to be negatively impacted by it. your parents, your children, your coworkers, your peers, your managers, everybody. You have a responsibility to make yourself happy. You have a responsibility to make sure things are going as best as possible for yourself, because then someday you can bestow the boons, the lessons upon your fellow men, your children, your friends. Because let me tell you something, you learn this now, and that's a skill set of starting conversations with women, being flirtatious. That's a skill set you'll keep forever. And while you'll be happily married in 5 years, mark my words, you will be at a business meeting with a guy in a pub, in a bar, who's a fucking cuck. A really nice, kind, awesome guy who's maybe crushing it in business, but he simply can't approach because he's never learned the skill set. So what do? You start a conversation with a lady, you introduce them, and he'll thank you for years to come. This will happen. This has happened to me several times. There's two ways to make men love you. Help them with money, help them with relationships. These are the two best ways to get men to see you as a valuable member of their life. Remember, this goes so much deeper than just having sex, than just you fulfilling your immediate desires. It is you becoming the best version of yourself. And it comes down to remembering who you truly are. And I just briefly, because I've talked about it in other videos, want to touch on a couple of things that you can do to boost your energy in a natural way, to boost your confidence, your mental and emotional state in a natural way, so you can show up as the best version of yourself. Because remember, state-dependent memory is very real. Have you ever been so frustrated or angry that it's very difficult to have a peaceful and relaxed thought? Have you ever been so down that it's very difficult to have a joyful thought? Have you ever been so stressed or scared that it's very difficult to feel a sense of relaxation or joy? Yes, because if you have strong emotions, that state won't even allow you to access empowering thoughts. So here are 3 things you need to take care of to put yourself in an empowering state of mind every single day, which boosts your confidence. Because remember, confidence in dating comes, one, from, yes, having a process, developing the skills, competence, in other words, but it also comes from your mental and your emotional state. Confidence is a mental and emotional state you can learn to turn on whenever you want. Most men do it with alcohol. Most men do it with other drugs. But that gives them a temporary high. Alcohol lets you borrow confidence from tomorrow. Today you drink it, anxiety, depression goes down. The next day, anxiety, stress levels goes up, depression goes up. Alcohol is a depressant, so that's not what we want to do. I want you to be able to use your mind and your body to put yourself in the most empowering state that's necessary to create the results you truly want. The first thing you got to do is take care of your physiology. One of the most important hacks, you're already doing it, most likely, exercise 3 times a week. You are, neurologically speaking, a different individual. You are not the same person, neurologically speaking, before or after a workout. That is fundamental to understand. Sunlight. Andrew Huberman has talked about it at length. You have to be out for half an hour a day. Get sunlight. It boosts your mood. Your sleep, extraordinarily important. Don't eat a couple of hours before you go to bed. Magnesium bisglycinate, magnesium threonate, L-theanine. Have a hot bath before going to bed. Listen to a Jack Cornfield guided meditation. Hack your sleep. Absolutely vital and important. What else can you do? You can make sure you take zinc. You can eat meat. You can eat liver. There are a lot of things in terms of your physiology. Then also how you use your body. How much certainty do you put behind your words? And you don't have to speak like me, even if you're way more soft-spoken. My mentor, he's, by the way, I'm coaching my program, absolute genius, the guy that I learned from. He's way more soft-spoken. He has a completely different communication style to me. Yes, he's insanely effective with women, but totally soft-spoken. You find your own way. But I can speak calm and yet super certain. I can speak calm and be a little insecure wuss. Certainty behind your words. Whether there's volume or less volume is irrelevant. Putting certainty behind your words. How do you use your body? Andrew Huberman talked about it once, that if you use your hands while you're speaking, it actually improves cognition temporarily. It actually makes it easier to freely associate. You don't have to use it as much as I do. I'm not consciously thinking about the hand movements. I'm just going with the flow. I'm just allowing my hands to do whatever they need to do so my brain can do whatever it needs to do. So my mouth can bestow These genius lessons of wisdom upon you that you hopefully implement instantaneously to find an amazing woman. Your physiology, the way you use your body, has a massive impact. We all know that when we feel shit, our physiology, our body language is completely different. Gunter Schmidt, one of Germany's best psychologists, as well as Tony Robbins, they both learned from Milton Erickson, by the way. Tony Robbins didn't learn directly from Milton Erickson. He learned from John Grinder, the founders of NLP, who then learned from Milton Erickson. So it's all the same school of thought for the personal development nerds among you. They all talk about that you can play this game in reverse. You can first use your body the way you would if you felt good, and you will start feeling good. Gunter Schmidt always says, how you're going, that's how it's going. You can never walk neutral. Every time from now on you walk somewhere, understand that you're hypnotizing yourself. That comes from Germany's best psychologist. This is cutting edge neuroscience. This is not woo-woo bullshit. If you put your shoulder, you know Conor McGregor walking through the octagon? It doesn't have to be quite like that. But whenever you walk somewhere, put your shoulders back 2 millimeters, chin down a little bit, a tiny bit more shoulder movement, a little bit of a deeper breath. Put on some song. Listen to it. Move your body in a confident way. Walk the way you would if you felt confident, and you will improve your level, boost your levels of confidence instantaneously. It's impossible not to. This whole idea of physiology goes a lot deeper. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is what you focus on. Tony Robbins says what's wrong is always available, so is what's right. It is so important that you understand that if you focus on the fact that you got a rejection, it's going to hurt. If you focus on the fact that you did an approach, which is what 99% of men didn't do, that lady that you wanted to go and approach, all the other men saw her, they didn't have the fucking balls to do it. They didn't have the courage to do it. They didn't have the decision. I had a conversation with a client the other day. I was talking to clients in one of the calls, and one of the guys was really struggling with approaches, and he's in Australia. Couple of weeks, couldn't get going. So I go on this epic rant, very similar to the one today. And then that day he goes out, he approaches a woman who in his, from his perspective was like a 9. And he showed me pictures. She was really physically attractive. Talked to her for 10 minutes, got the Instagram. He was so fucking delighted. The high that motherfucker got from that, you can never get that from a drug. You can never get that from an external substance, because whenever you consume an external substance, a part of you knows that it's not earned. A part of you knows that anybody can do it. But doing what's difficult is amazing because nobody else will. He had a high from that was absolutely unparalleled. Now, you also got a couple of rejections, obviously, but what you need to focus on after you do the approach is the fact that you're doing something that nobody else is doing. If you focus on that, that's amazing. If you focus on the fact that the approach itself is the only possible criteria for success, not the outcome, which you ultimately can't control, only influence, you're going to feel stronger. By simply focusing what you can control as opposed to what you can't control, you're going to feel a lot stronger. You have a lot of habits of what you focus on. Analyze what you focus on a day-to-day basis and whether it empowers you. What's wrong in the world is always available. What's beautiful, what's loving, what's caring, what's kind, what's empowering, what's strengthening, that's also always available. It just matters whether you associate with it. In other words, you put an image in your head, ideally add a song and a sensation, then it's going to create emotions within you because you associate with an experience. Because our brain is not very good at differentiating between whether we're just focusing on something or we're actually experiencing it in objective reality. The third component you have to focus on to master your mental and emotional state, to feel confident every day, to be able to put yourself out there, leave your comfort zone, expand your comfort zone to find a high quality relationship, is your inner dialogue. How do you speak with yourself? You have to refuse to live in an adversarial relationship with yourself. Most of you are extremely hard on yourself. You're probably very self-critical. You're overthinking, very logical, get stuck in your head. First of all, understand, as Gunter Schmidt would say, that's a competence. You are able to think. Great. The part in you that is overly critical, he just wants to protect you. It's not a part fighting against you. That's very important to understand. These parts in you that may be causing temporary pain, It may be giving you symptoms of overthinking, of getting stuck in your head, of having a negative, sometimes self-defeating inner dialogue. That is not your enemy. You don't have an enemy inside of you. That part is just trying to protect you. Self-sabotage is misguided self-love. Now you have to assume responsibility for guiding that dialogue, which you can. You can assume control over it. And there's two things when it comes to your internal dialogue, two facets. One, the actual words themselves, and second, how you speak them. I've talked about that more in other videos. Assume control with about how you speak with yourself. Take control over your inner dialogue. Refuse to talk down to yourself. The second you catch yourself, say, no more. This was in the past. I will not give in to this self-defeating bullshit. Because in order to perform at a high level for a couple of months in dating, to find the right woman, you have to empower yourself. Guess what? You are going to get rejected a couple of times. There's going to be some dates that are going to go wrong. You are going to, even if your learning curve is extremely steep because you have a mentor or a coach, for example, you're still going to get a couple of rejections. So you have to have an empowering inner dialogue. Yes, put positivity into your ears from the outside. Listen to this. Listen to other people. Listen to Tony Robbins. Listen to Jack Kornfield. Listen to Audible every single day. Feed your mind. Strengthen and feed your mind every single day. But you also eventually have to assume responsibility for feeding your own soul, for giving yourself credit where you deserve it. Pride is a very powerful emotion. Not fake pride, real pride for having done what's difficult. Because remember, this is not just about you. You doing all this is going to make you the strongest version of yourself, and you'll be happier. And even just energetically, you'll show up in a much more powerful way for the people you love, for the people you will love in the future. And the impact you're going to have in this world is going to be so much more beautiful.